Have you ever felt like you're constantly loading up YouTube and start watching tutorial after tutorial on how to create your own game? I follow along and end up with multiple little projects, but yet I feel like I haven't learned anything. You might be familiar with this feeling. Well, it's not just a feeling, as there's an actual word for this situation, and it's called tutorial hell. What exactly is it though? Well, here's a definition. Tutorial hell refers to a state of being stuck in a cycle of constantly consuming programming tutorials without being able to apply their knowledge in the real world and build an app. This picture describes my situation perfectly. First, you watch something and then you start to apply it to your own game. It feels like a punch to the stomach when you try to build your own game and realize you have no idea what you're doing. It's overwhelming, frustrating, and honestly, kind of scary. But here's the thing, you can break out of it. And today, I'll show you how I did that. But here's the thing, there's only one way to break this cycle. You actually have to be brave and create a new project. And although it loads you into this empty and frightening space where there are no graphics and code, you just have to get started. So I took the leap, and within a few hours, I had my first character moving and animated. It wasn't perfect, but it was mine, and that felt amazing. Once movement was in, I wanted some basic interactions. So I added rocks that the player can break, and they drop stones that can be picked up. Simple, but it's the first step towards making a real game. I continued by giving him some more animations for him chopping with an axe, and as you can see, he can't destroy the rocks with an axe, so I had to integrate some basic trees into my game. A couple hours later, and we have trees that he can destroy only if he has an axe equipped. By the way, some of you may have already noticed it, but I have used two different art styles here in this scene. The rocks and the player have a single black outline, whereas the trees have none. Honestly, I can't decide which art style I prefer and I want to use for my game. So please let me know in the comments, what do you think is better, black outline or no outline? But here's the problem. When you start adding multiple actions like walking, chopping, and mining, your code turns into a complete mess. That's where the state machine comes in. Instead of stuffing everything into one big script, I created separate states for each action, such as walking, mining, chopping, and even just standing still. The state machine makes sure the player can only do one thing at a time, and smoothly transitions between animations. If you're walking, you can't chop. If you're chopping, you can't mine. It keeps everything clean and manageable. Don't worry if you didn't fully understand how a state machine works. Here you can see me creating another state machine for bots or machines that I'm gonna integrate into my game. These machines will simply have three states. First, they will idle and just wait for the next cycle. Second, they will spawn an item like a rock, for example, maybe even some creatures in the future. And then third, they will destroy whatever they created it. And there it is, a fully functioning machine with three distinct cycles. First, it idles, then it places rocks on all surrounding tiles, and finally, it destroys and replaces them in the next cycle. What you might not notice right away is that each rock also drops an item, which the machine immediately picks up. This whole process turned out to be more challenging than I expected, but because it follows the same state machine principles as the player, I was able to apply what I learned earlier and make it work. So now I'm gonna explain how the machine actually works and the different state machine subscripts. So if we look at the machine, we have a big blue area, which is basically the area in which it can pick up items. And this becomes important to pick up the stones, which have uh, its own hitbox, and that hitbox is in this big blue area. It's basically being picked up by the machine. And The machine works on the same principle as the player with the state machine, basically just transitioning from one state into another. So first it gets all the states that it has, like the idle, destroy, and summon, and then it just transfers from one state to another. There's not really much going on here, but it also holds this global variable chosen tile, which is basically just a vector 2, so coordinates. And those coordinates are being used by the idle state, in which is just place the animation, the idle front animation right now, and then it checks all the 8 tiles surrounding the machine. So just gets the position of the machine and checks up, right, left, and down, and checks if these tiles are empty, and if they are being appended, so added to this list, and if they're used by some rock, for example, then they're getting appended into this list. And then it just checks the list. If there is something in the list, if there's like still an empty space in the list, it chooses one of the empty ones and calls the summon function, which basically, if we go into here, it performs its animation, and then at the end, it places a rock, the scene of a rock, which I've created before, at that position, which we've kept hold of in the state machine in the global as a global variable. And then from there it calls back to the idle function, and in the idle state it checks if there are no empty tiles left. So if all 8 tiles are being blocked by rocks, then it just simply chooses one of the rocks on random and calls the destroy function. And if we go to the destroy state, we can see it performs its animation, and at the end, all it does, it places a hitbox onto the rock position, and the rock automatically detects then that it's being hit, and it basically breaks, and then all the adding of a stone, like of the item and everything, is already done within the rock. Let me know in the comments, have you ever been stuck in tutorial hell? If you're stuck in the same cycle, my advice: stop watching, start building. And if you enjoyed this, don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates on my game development journey. See you in the next one.